Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to Kapowski Reads, and I wanted to share some wintry book recommendations. These are books that I have already read and while reading them thought, this would be a great book to read during winter. Most of these I did not read during the season. That would have been great to read them in. So I wanted to recommend them so that if you are looking for something with some wintry vibes, that maybe one of these books could be the one for you. I have 5 recommendations and they are all just so wintry, but none of them are Christmassy. I didn't want to do a Christmas recommendation video because I don't read a huge amount of Christmassy books, but I do read a lot of books that make me feel chilly. So grab a cozy blanket and a warm drink. I have got my, I'm on the lem sip right now. And let's start with some recommendations. Up first is The Edinburgh Skating Club by Michelle Sloan. This was in my underrated Scottish book recommendation list that I posted a couple of weeks ago. And I feel it's an underrated gem. This book takes place in winter in Edinburgh. And the whole plot surrounds a woman masquerading as a gentleman in order to infiltrate the gentleman-only Edinburgh Skating Club. So there's lots of ice skating, lots of just chilly days described in just glorious detail. And it's a really heartwarming and just quite beautiful story. In addition to the cozy wintry vibes, I highly recommend this just for some characters that you're gonna fall in love with. And it's a really good time and more people need to read it, and I don't think I'm ever going to shut up about how much I love this book. A slight pause, there was a van outside my house being really loud, so I had to stop, grumble to myself and my partner about how loud it was, and now I'm back for book number 2 of my wintry recommendations, which is All the White Spaces by Ali Wilkes. This is a sort of horror-y thriller. I was scared. Does that make it horror? This book takes place, majority of it anyway, takes place in the Antarctic. You don't get more chilly than Antarctica. This book takes place after the First World War. Jonathan had stowed away on an Antarctic expedition, looking for adventure, looking to find a new life for themselves and live as they truly are. And this exploration is kind of doomed. The men on the ship find themselves stuck in the ice, and they are trapped with no way of communicating with anybody who can try and rescue them. And polar night has started, so the entire world is dark. And it kind of feels like maybe the explorers aren't alone and there's something or someone out there. And these travelers, they're not in the best place. They've come back from war, filled with all of the emotions that you would expect, and they're off on this exploration, and people start to react in different ways to being stuck in the Antarctic with what seems like no way out. I find this book to be so creepy and just tense. I was so tense because you just don't know. I just didn't know what was going to happen, where it was going to go. I was so intrigued though, and I just could not put this down. It's quite a big book. It's just a wee bit under 500 pages, but it was a truly outstanding book that did not feel like it was 500 pages. I could easily have read double. So tense. The next book is a little bit lighter. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This, again, another big-ish book. It is inspired by Rumpelstiltskin, and there are multiple POVs. We have a character who is the daughter of a moneylender, and she finds herself attracting the unwanted attention of the Fairy King of Winter. And he kind of casts her these just unachievable tasks, and she just, how is she supposed to do them? There is another narrative, which is Irina, who is the daughter of a lord, and this lord, he's not a loving dad. He wants to use his daughter as like a bargaining chip and, you know, set up a marriage that's gonna work in his favor. And this book just takes place in this landscape, this snowy, frosty landscape, and this magical world, which is also a snowy, frosty landscape. And it's a very magical sort of, it's inspired by a fairy tale, and you can really tell it gets those fairy tale vibes. It's got that fantasy, it's got some amazing, strong female characters, and oh, it made me cry. Got me in the heart, I cried. It's a very fantastic book. I could imagine this being adapted for TV. It was a spectacle. There is magic, there's some old myths in there, and it was just a really fantastic fantasy novel. I really enjoyed it, really liked the characters, really liked the setting, and I'm a sucker for anything that's inspired by a fairy tale. The next two books are books I read this year, and while reading them was like, I'm a fool, I wish I waited till winter. But I'm not a fool, because I read two 5-star books and loved them. So we have The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. There's snow on the cover, wintery. This book, both of these books I feel are bound to be on my favourite list for this year. I feel it in my bones. However, I'm going to have to whittle it down somehow. But that's a problem for later. The Writing Retreat takes place in a very secluded, isolated house, which gets snowed in. There are 5 budding authors who have been invited to this retreat, which is held by this famous yet very elusive author, and they get to work on their manuscript. The best novel is going to get published. So very exciting. Got these authors are getting to have a chance at achieving their goal, and then murder happens. They are trapped. The snow's coming down. They can't get out. They can't get anywhere. It took them an age to get there, even before the snow had started. So they are trapped. They are isolated, and there is so much more at stake than just a publishing deal. I say just a publishing deal. That's a huge thing. In addition to the wonderful thing that is a publishing deal, there is much more at stake. I loved this. It was so creepy and very, again, tense. I love a tense book, and it kept me guessing. It was very wild. I did not see the twists coming, because why on earth would I? They were so bizarre and just unexpected. It was a wild ride, and I buckled myself in, and I had a fantastic time. I highly recommend it. And the final wintry vibe book that I just have to recommend is Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. I love this book. Again, this book is bizarre. That is my theme. I think that's my theme of 2023 is I like books that are weird. And this book surrounds a character called Roach who works in a bookshop, and she is not like other girls. She loves a murder podcast, not like other girls though, and she is very abrasive as a character. And one day Laura starts at the bookshop, and Roach decides instantly, I have to befriend Laura. Laura, not really into this budding friendship. She wants no part of it. But Roach is like, gonna be your friend, whether you like it or not. And then we go very swiftly into chaos. Each of these characters are going through some stuff, and they both descend very quickly into just the actions that they both take. I cannot fathom the thought process behind them, but they are not okay, and they're not thinking right. They are just going slowly. It feels like they're going a little bit mad. It's very clear that the budding friendship that Roach wants with Laura is not so much a friendship, it's just an absolute obsession. But Laura herself going through some things, dealing with some of her own trauma. She is not okay, and she does not react well to Roach wanting this or demanding this relationship with her. It is set across a couple of months, but it starts in November when it's just raining, dark, miserable, which is just so wintry weather. I mean, I know as much as I love snowy times, we get a lot of dark days and rain. Usually it's getting dark at about 3. The only reason it's light right now is because it's 2 o'clock. This book is, I feel the only word to really describe it is unsettling. I felt unnerved reading this, and yet I wanted to go back and read it again as soon as I finished it. I thought it was amazing, and I think it's a perfect wintry read. Again, there are twists in this book that you will not see coming, or I didn't see coming, because they're so wild that you think, well, why on earth would I have thought that was going to happen? That makes no sense. And yet here we are, and it did happen. I thought it was spectacular. Do you have any books that you think are perfect for winter reading? If so, let me know in the comments. These are my 5 recommendations for winter reading, and I highly recommend them all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!